Good morning, everyone. You are on with Ali, and this is another day in the life with Ali blog and just chat session. I hope everyone is doing well. I know that there is horrific weather in these states and places that normally don't get um, adverse weather, like the southern states, Texas, and so on, are being hit pretty hard. And I want to make sure that I send a shout out and a prayer to my fellow brothers and sisters who are um, experiencing all the power outages, which during these frigid temperatures, which are not normal in that region, 13 degrees and below every day, power out for 2, 3, 4 days, um, which means that refrigerators aren't refrigerating, you can't cook. Um, but hopefully, you have non-perishables at home or perishables that you could consume in their raw form. I know it's difficult for a lot. Some people are without water as well. You guys, couple things to, if you do have a vehicle with gas in it, remember you can go and warm up in your vehicle. You can also charge your electronics like your phone and such in your vehicle, to make sure that you can stay connected and let people know how you're doing. I know there's a number of my friends that I have seen that are posting sources for assistance in the Dallas Fort Worth area. So I will be resharing some of their posts on where you can go to get assistance later on today. I appreciate all of my friends who are, doing their part to keep everyone informed, as well as myself. I am on the other side of the world, but it is felt here as well because I have so much family and so many friends in the Dallas area. So I want to make sure you guys know that my prayers are going out to you guys. Not because, it's not something that you can't handle. A lot of us are from the Midwest, and, we've had adverse conditions, but it's different when you're in a place where that's not expected, and so people don't buy coats like we do in the Midwest, and boots, and have extra candles on hand, and prepared to rough it out when these things happen. And so just applying a little extra consideration to those who just are not familiar with this, is kind of what we need in this time. So, reach out to your fellow brother and sister. Make sure everybody's okay. I know all the power isn't out everywhere, but it is out in some of the major southern sectors of Dallas, which has always been a touchy point in Dallas, and as well as many other communities, that dividing line, that class division line, where the northern part is okay, and some of the southern parts of the actual county and city of Dallas are not. And so I just want to stress that. And then I also got some information. I'm just trying to recap some of the things that I've heard from some of my other friends' posts, that Texas is on a separate energy grid because they want it to remain separate and not be a part of the nation. As you guys know, Texas has been trying to succeed and become their own country for years now. It's not anything new, and this may be a part of that. And so what that means is when these types of crises happen, we do not Texas does not assist with energy for other neighboring states or states around the world, around the country, nor do we receive assistance from other states that have um, additional energy resources. So that leaves the state of Texas kind of as a standalone. And the major problem I see with that is the entire state is not in flux. The entire county of Dallas is not in flux, but it's definitely hitting hard below you want to call it the Mason-Dixon line, the sub-Saharan line, call it what you want to call it, but that's what's happening. And so bringing some awareness to everyone who listens to my podcast, um, just so you guys know what's going on in the great country of the United States. So, just shedding some light on the things that are happening. I think this is going into day number 4 of people having no power, no sun, no water, which means that you've got frigid temperatures and you've got elderly, you've got young people, and you just have people in general who are freezing. So, um, check around and see how you can help some of those folks, even if it's just sharing the information, which I will try to do that a little bit later on today. So, thank you guys for listening to that part. I wanted to share my thoughts and prayers on the situation that's happening there, and then get into the topics for today. Um, Yesterday, I got on and talked a little bit about relationships and endless love and that kind of thing. And today, I happened to catch a video by Anthony Oneal. If y'all don't know him, he talks about a number of different topics. He has a large Facebook following, and he has some very, very good, intentful discussions around relationships. And I want to touch on one of the videos that I actually saw uh, today. And actually, this video is from last year. It looks like May of last year. And the title of it actually is kind of throws me off a little bit because I really want to talk about one segment of this video. But it's if you guys are looking for it, it's called 4 Words You Never Say to a Woman. Men disagree. Well, I guess it makes sense. 4 words you never say to a woman. Men disagree. And so it really is about um, men can you date, the topic of his video was men can you date women who make more than you, and the responses were interesting. And the nice thing about his panels is that he has a wide range of age demographic in his discussions, which is really important because as much as we want to say age doesn't matter, numbers don't matter, that is incorrect because different generations, in addition to how you were raised and brought up, play a big part in. I apologize, you guys. It's a diesel Jeep, so little car, but it's making a lot of noise. But those things play a big part in how we perceive or the decisions that we make for, something, as critical as our dating life and our dating experience. And so to say that age plays no part in it and age doesn't matter and we're all the same and it's a level of maturity and all of that, age does play a part. So I do like the fact that there are um, uh, there is representation from all the age groups. I think, I mean, up to probably late 40s maybe in the group, or maybe not that old, but in the 40s. I know there's a couple, at least one person that looks like they're in their 40s. And I know I just made the statement that's probably not appropriate or diplomatic or, the proper term to say someone looks like they're of age. But I was basing it more on the way that this person responds, and they always refer to their age and how much they're older. And I don't know that they've actually stated their actual age, but that's what I'm referring to. And it's one of the gentlemen on the panel. So, any case, I want to talk a little bit about this idea. Number one, how impactful is this whole thing about women who make more money than men? We hear the statistics all the time around, women, especially Black women, being, and then let me just say this, the panel is not all Black either. So just FYI, it is a diverse group as well. So it's not a black and white issue. So let me take that statement. I'm going to remove the blackness from it and say, we hear quite often about women coming up and becoming successful, more and more successful year after year, still not 100% equal in the corporate workspace in terms of salary across the board. And it doesn't mean it doesn't happen. It just means that, we're still seeing those disparities, right? And so, but we hear quite often how women have really been moving up in the arena, which means that their salaries are increasing. And so, guys, do you guys actually have an issue if you are interested in a woman and you find out she makes more than you? Does that bother you? Um, and so I want to talk about that, but I also want to play a little excerpt from the video if I can. My Wi-Fi has been iffy today, but I want to play a little part in this because right at the beginning he talks about a scenario, but it's more along the lines of not necessarily a woman making more than him, but dating etiquette. How you date, the experience that you have and that you share, and how you move from one point to the next point. So I'll give you a little summary here. So it's basically a situation where he is dating or been on one date with a woman, took her out on a date, he paid for that date. This next date, or a potential next date, the woman reached out and said, "Hey, I want to go to this restaurant. Can you take me here?" And it was a high-end upscale restaurant. And the premise behind it is the gentleman here, Anthony, which you will see, basically said he lives on he's a true budgeter. And so he had a dating budget. And he looked up the restaurant and realized that it did not fit in his budget for this month. So he decided to let the young lady know that for date number two, now this is only the second date, that he would not be able to take her to that restaurant on that date, the next date, but could potentially do it the next month if they were still dating. So that's like 5 words. So anyway, I'm gonna play a little piece of this for you guys, so you guys can kind of hear some of this, and we may play a few little excerpts as we go along. And so, also, let me see if you're on. Please comment or go to my StreamYard and comment. I'm actually in the StreamYard app. Um, I will go over to Facebook, my Facebook page after I play these excerpts, because I've got a couple different electronics going here. So I'm gonna see if I can multitask and get this over to you guys. But I want you guys to hear the dialogue directly from the horse's mouth, and some of the commentary from the panel, because there's very different and distinct assumptions and thoughts around what should and should not be said, spoken, and or expected. And I want to know you guys' thoughts on this. So let's see. I'm going to push play here. I'm going to move this down close to the speaker and let you guys hear. You don't necessarily need to see. I'm going to let y'all hear.
For successful, they're bougie. It's not all about the social status. All right, so let's watch this video and tell me what y'all think. Could you believe that a young lady would not date me because I told her it's not in my budget? She didn't return a phone call. She ain't do nothing. And I'm sitting here like, well, what the heck? Y'all, she didn't text me for 2 months. Keep it live. We'll be right back. So check this out, y'all. Check this out. I already have a video out talking about a young lady who wouldn't date me because I don't have a credit score. And I'm not going after ladies. Let me say this right now. But I do have a problem when young ladies try to play your boy. Like, what in the world? So you guys know me. I budget. I budget every single month. At the end of the month, I always, list in my cash flow. Then I also put out what I have going out inside of my budget because I am a single man and I'm dating for a purpose for marriage. I do have a line item for dates. That line item is not a lot. I'm not going to give you the particular number, but it's not that much. So about a few months ago, I took this young lady out. We went out to dinner. She texted me. She says, hey, first date was cool, but can we go to this particular restaurant next weekend? I didn't respond because I wanted to go home and check my budget and make sure that, okay, I can afford it inside of my budget. So when I go home, I realize it's going to take me over that particular line item in my budget for dating. So I asked myself, all right, do I tell her the truth? Like, I was thinking about just lying, y'all, to be real. I was like, can't go, I'm busy. But then you know what? The Holy Spirit said, no, don't lie. Show her the caliber of man that you are. So I sent her a text message that says, hey, unfortunately, I can take you out next weekend, but I can't take you to this particular restaurant because if I do, this will take me over my dating budget for the month. I would be more than happy to budget this in for next month if we are still dating. So I send it, and I got an iPhone. And then on the iPhone, y'all know how it happens. When they start typing, that big old bubble come up with a dot, dot, dot. I'm thinking like, okay, cool, we good. Then the dot, dot, dot goes away, and nothing comes in. And I'm sitting there, I'm emotional, like, dang, did I just play myself? Dang, did she just play me? Y'all, she didn't text me for 2 months. She didn't return a phone call. She ain't do nothing. And I'm sitting here like, well, what the heck? How was she going to sit here and say, you know what? I can't respond to that because a man's going to stick to his budget. That's sad. So she seen me on a particular national show. I ain't gonna say who, but she seen me on TV. She sends me a text message and she says, hey, just seen you on such and such. How are you? What about that date? I started typing and I really wasn't typing nothing. I just wanted her to see the dot, dot, dot. And I didn't hit send because here's the thing. You can't play me and then honestly think I'm gonna come back to you after you've done me like that. What's the whole purpose of this story? My vision for my life and for my money, because I stuck to it, it actually blocked me from dating a particular young lady that probably wasn't healthy for me. So to anyone who's out there dating, when you have a budget, you stick to that budget. Your plan is your pathway to your future. You stick to that plan. You stick to the vision. Where there is no vision, that's where people perish. And I believe when we just go out there and just spin and let people manipulate us into changing our plan and our vision for our life, things happen. I could have took it to the restaurant. Honestly, I could have took it that next weekend, but I didn't want to change my budget around because at the end of the day, that's what I said I'm going to do. Yo, it's your boy, Anthony Oneal.
Okay, you guys. So hopefully you heard that very clearly. So let's talk about this a little bit. There were a couple things that immediately stood out for me in this video, this little clip that I played, which basically just gives you the scenario, right? Um, First thing I that caught my attention is the woman sending the guy a note and saying, "This is where I want to go for the next date," not answering a question where he says, "Hey, where do you want to go?" It doesn't sound like he inquired or asked her where she wants to go. She just volunteered and said, "Hey, this is where I want to go next week." Keep in mind, this is date number two, because I don't have a problem with, you know, be if you can be honest and tell a person what you want. And typically guys want that. Guys want a lady that's gonna say, hey, this is what I want to do. But the fact that it was date number two, I think is what got my attention. Y'all, I'm eating some like rambutan. They're going. They're pretty much at the tail end of their life. So pardon me. I am uh, active and intentful. I'm just getting some fruit. And um, so my first thought was her reaching out and saying, "Hey, I want to go to this restaurant," and basically telling him where he's going to take her for date number two. And it doesn't appear that he asked her where she wanted to go, or even said he was going to take her on a second date. So I call that bold. Some people find that to be attractive and sexy. Okay, great. My second thing that grabs me is when he said, getting into his feelings, when he said he saw that she was responding, that she never did. And basically, she didn't respond for 2 months. And then she only responded to him or reached out when she saw he was on a national television show. I think that's shady. I'm just going to put it out there. We don't even need to wait to talk about that. I think that's shady, manipulative, and somebody who's trying to get something because now you in the spotlight. Well, yeah, let's talk about that date. Um, but what I did find is interesting is his petty. He got in his feelings, and rightfully so. I'm not saying that that's wrong, but he became petty, and I just mentioned that to say that guys are just as petty as women. He basically said he saw the dots, she never responded. He did the dots and never responded to her. Right. Um, as this conversation goes on, I will add a few other things for just for explanation in case you guys may ask. He did indicate that he called her once. I don't think she answered. She didn't answer him after he texted, and he responded to her text. So she texted him, "Hey, I want to go to this restaurant." He responded, "I can't because it's out of my budget for this month, but I can go next month." And then he said he called her, didn't get a response, and then she called back 2 months later after seeing him on television. My third thing about this is when he said, um, "I'm not going over my budget." He said, "I could have spent the money, but I'm not going over my budget." What do y'all think about that? In the dating phase, should there be provisions made to your budget to get through the dating phase? Or if we ask someone to make those types of provisions for the dating phase, are we asking them to be someone that they're not? Because when they, let's say it does become a relationship and they go back to their budget and who they truly are, is the next person, this could be male or female, but let's talk about the guy who has this budget. He goes back to his budget. Is the woman going to then be upset because she feels like, well, shoot, you've changed. Before you were spending this kind of money. So are we asking him to splurge? I'm going to switch this camera and see if the lighting is better over here. I think so. I think so. Um, is are we asking a guy to be something that he is not and is not going to be consistently when we say, well, maybe he should break his budget for the dating um, process? Is that what we want? Because one minute we say, don't change, be who you're going to be up front in the beginning so we know who you are. And then the second is, well, should he have broken that budget rule and taken her out? Or was he responding to the fact that she picked some high place and was it ego that kicked in and he didn't recognize or realize that it was his ego? Let's talk about that. Okay. All right. So I'll let you guys hear some of the commentary. I forgot I am actually playing a video and it actually is better over here. Anyway, so let's hear some of the commentary.
I seen that. I did see it.
Wait, you slammed it.
Was I wrong? Not at all. No. Nope.
Anthony's tone, I think tone's everything. Come on, man. Like you gotta script it. If you're gonna write it in a text, if you're gonna respond in a text, you gotta script it in a way that someone could read your tone or not infer anything negative from your tone.
So the first girl basically was saying that it was the tone in which he wrote it. As they go on, they get to arguing about the fact that he did it in text message. Um, and I kind of felt like they were getting off track and they were talking about the delivery, which I know is important, but is the delivery more important than the reaction? Um, was it an ego reaction versus a systematic, intentful reaction? Okay, so I'm gonna fast forward here a little bit. you guys' thoughts. I just want to play little snippets so
considered a part of his budget. I got some thoughts on that.
I mean, you said here's what she was thinking.
Right. I think my Wi-Fi is being wiggy. So let me see if I can get this to play. Because there were some really good points from both sides on this. Age and age maturity or dating maturity came up in this. Okay, here we go.
Hold on.
If there is one thing I want to bring up today, it is that situation where Anthony responded incorrectly to the woman who was not considered a part of his budget. I got some thoughts on that.
I mean, you said here's what she was thinking in a viral video. You have no idea what she was thinking.
That's right. We will never know what she was thinking because
he won't ask her.
She didn't return his calls either.
Yeah. Well, when she hit him back,
you call her?
She could.
So the guys on one hand are like, well,
she
didn't respond.
I called her.
Yeah.
I didn't text her back again.
You didn't?
I just called her one time.
Did you leave a message?
Once? Nope.
Oh, so after that text message, you've called her one time.
I
You didn't say that. Oh, so he double
okay.
texted.
Yeah.
You did your due diligence. Come on.
In a way.
Let's
One time.
go. And she just didn't answer and
She didn't
just
answer.
responded.
Well, what was she going on in her life? Like after y'all talked,
I don't
was she
know.
going through something?
I don't know.
You don't know. She didn't answer.
So I want to.
I wish I could hear her side.
I wish I could hear her.
Really.
Call her right now. This is great.
I want to talk about that really quick. It's something that we as women do. I think everybody does it, but in this particular case, what we went to is well, what was her situation? What was her? This is to me a very black and white situation. It really doesn't matter what her situation is or what she was doing. The fact that she didn't respond for 2 months after he reached out or responded to her and called her, what does it matter what her situation was? That was more than ample enough time. So is 2 months okay to respond to somebody? And I get it that they weren't a couple. They weren't even past a dating. They weren't even in a courting state. They had only gone on one date. So neither person really owes the other person anything, right? Even in terms of how they communicate. But I say this, we don't owe each other anything, but how you act, how you respond is a direct indicator of and determining factor in terms of how a person is going to react and respond to you. It is the presence, it is the indicator, like it sets the precedence, the precedent setter. That's what I was trying to say. It is the precedent setter. What you do on date one, just like guys look and see what a woman is wearing, what she's dressed at, how she responds, how she eats on that date, how she acts, how she treats a waiter. Women do the same thing. So they look at what you do, what you can and cannot provide. And just right out the gate, he said having a budget kept him from dealing with somebody that wasn't right for him. I will agree 100% to that. And I think that is probably one of the most resounding things. Now, as the video goes on, they get into all of these other elements of the situation, turning it into so many things. But the one thing I think that gets us in trouble more times than not, and I say this quite often in many groups, is we have issues with people who don't fit what we want them to be because we don't want to let go of the fact that this person that I have been eyeballing is not the one. And so early on, we do get the red flags. We do get the messages. And who cares, quite frankly, what her reasoning is? If she feels like this man don't make enough money to take me to this restaurant that I want to go to, or maybe he does, but he won't take me, that is her choice. And it is 100% wonderful that she responded like that early on to save him from the grief of finding out later that that's how she felt, that that's what she thought. She didn't put any covers on, neither did he. And so for me, I think it's great how it ended, how it started quickly and it ended quickly. um I think what happens is we add to the drama of things by trying to attach things that really don't matter. In this scenario, it was too early, and there were too many other stipulations put on what should have happened, what should have transpired, to make either person feel more comfortable. And the thing is, the bottom line is we know who we like. We do what we want and extend courtesies beyond our um, beyond our guidelines or like this budget when we want to. Now, I will say this: I find more times than not that men are real sticklers about quote unquote wanting to be on a budget or how much they spend on a date. I think we see that more, and I want to dig into that and ask my gentlemen, my gents on my page or those who are following, to share with me, where does that come from? Is that an ego thing? Is that you're tired of women, you know, taking men for money and, going out on these dates that they can't afford, you think they can't afford. But clearly, if she makes 3 times more than him, she can afford to go to this place on her own. Is it ego driven? Is it, the pettiness of it? What is it, that drives you to decide, when you're going to spend the money or have a budget or be a stickler about things. So I'm interested in that. Okay, so I'm gonna see if I can get to another part of this video.
I got a question, and I'm gonna lay this out there. You paid for the first date, right?
Right.
Indeed. So
Listen
why
to
couldn't
this.
y'all come into terms of doing half and half on the second date?
That was-
Why did he have to pay for the second date?
He didn't have to.
He didn't have to.
Exactly.
But they,
My question, so I'm going to tell you, the guy who said that is probably my son's age or younger. So 30s, late 20s, 30s, something like that. I think he's pretty young, because age is addressed in the video by one of the other guests, panelists. And so the first thought is okay, here we go now, jumping into who should pay for the date. Men, gents on my page, when you take a woman out or invite a woman out or want to pursue a woman in the early stages, give me your honest opinion about paying for dates. I am not going to lead into it, ask any to other questions. Tell me what your honest opinion is about paying for dates, just in general, paying for dates, not this scenario specifically about her asking for you to pay for more. But what is the way that you go about dating someone in the early stages? I want to touch on that. Okay, I'm gonna skip ahead. So weird. When I try to skip ahead, it actually goes backwards. All right. Let's see.
Because we're not going to just make assumptions. I'm not going to assume that you know that if we're still dating by next month. I'm not going to make that assumption.
I think
it's
people,
already on
well,
the
she's
table.
still learning him. What if she doesn't know how he is?
Can I
Well,
ask
she's still learning him and don't know how he is. How does she know that he can afford
how long y'all knew each
that
other?
date
Well,
that
they need
she's
to be on
going
the
to
phone and
go?
talk.
Well, she made a mistake by texting him and
I'm
call.
sorry. What?
How long did they know each other?
I'm the type of person where I love to look at both sides of the coin.
Okay, listen to this
Like,
guy.
hey, what did I do wrong in this situation? If there was miscommunication, what did I do wrong? And okay, maybe I said something that made them do like. So this basically gave it an opportunity for so many different perspectives, and you just kind of sit back and go, okay, let me reanalyze my thought process now because
I like that.
this girl thought this way,
this girl thought this way, but we were all thinking the same, but just in different.
Yeah, that's a good question. And then a Disney princess.
Oh,
1 week. Why does it not enough?
1 week. I can't put all the information in the video. You leaving
out vital information. You ain't never watched Law and Order.
But I think that information is irrelevant.
Right.
I don't know.
Listen,
What? She coming at me like that after a week?
I think if someone would have,
know.
if I would have picked up the phone and said, "Hey, that's like that restaurant's really expensive. I'm really careful about my budget." Like maybe explain it, the tone. I don't know.
Yeah.
But y'all
I think it comes
acting
to
like
price.
here's my
He's not
question.
gonna soften himself.
Who initiated the conversation?
But that's why you call.
So
You're like,
wait,
hey, yo, you
it's
reach out
okay
to me.
for you to text, but it's not okay for me to respond in how you initiated the conversation.
So he should go out of his
So
way.
I need to step up just
Listen to
so
this
I
part.
can please her.
No.
I didn't say that.
But y'all ain't saying nothing.
You can't. So the opposite of what you're asking is, you're saying, so do I have to step up? Don't you want to step up?
I have no problem stepping up, but y'all are getting on me for responding to her communication.
We only don't like those last 4 words, if we're still dating.
if we're still dating. That sounded like that was the part that they really focused on. And I want to ask my male friends, my gents here, because there's always two sides of a conversation, because it's clear that we interpret things differently, just male and female, men and women. We interpret things differently. How much offense would you have taken to, ladies, how much offense would you have taken to a guy saying, we can go next month if we're still dating, after only being on one date? I don't know how much they talked, because that plays a big part, but it sounded like they hadn't actually had much communication. They had only, talked a little bit maybe, and then went on that first date. The reason I think that is critical is because I, for one, have actually, for my not first time, but recently, well, in the last couple of years, actually spent a lot of time, about 5 months, talking to someone because they didn't live in the state that I live in. And this is the first time I've ever done that. Considered dating long distance, because I personally don't think I like it, because my personality, and I like to be with who I want to be with, when I want to be with them, that kind of thing. But we talked on the phone in the beginning every single day. That's a whole nother video, is how things go from one stage to another, and the change that happens that then determines the next stage. So all of these things are points in a situation, or what could be a blooming relationship, that dictate the next steps of that relationship. So in any case, we talked for 5 months. We didn't know each other 100%, obviously, because you still are in, I think, a honeymoon type phase when you are talking with a person, you haven't met them physically. But I will say, during that 5 months, I, like, right early on, we had kind of, a little riff, and had to set some things straight and all of that. So we weren't all rose-colored glasses when we were talking to one another in that initial stage before we met. So actually, once we physically met each other, it was like we had known each other for the longest. So that's, to me, why knowing how long a person knew the other person before they actually went on the date is really critical when you're trying to give commentary. Pardon me, you guys, make an adjustment when you're trying to give commentary on a situation like this, because it could be I talked to them, we were introduced, or we met on a dating site or through Facebook or something like that, and within the first week I asked her out on a date, and then after that first date, within a day or two, she asked me out on the second. So we're talking about 2-week time period that it could be, right? And I'll have to go back and just make sure that I heard that right. But it sounded like there wasn't much time. They hadn't done a lot of talking. It was simply they went out on a first date, and then she asked, could they go out on a second? And I'll go back and listen to that because I've missed that part twice. So, and to me, that's very, very critical because it determines where you are in a relationship. Um, and a relationship is anything. It doesn't have to mean an intimate relationship. You are in relations with anybody that you come in contact with, especially if you're relating with them or in contact with them on a regular basis. That's a relationship. And so I think it's important to understand that component of it because they're, whether we want to or not, and I am big on this whole thing about expectations. And you say we shouldn't expect anything. I was actually going to talk about being your own happy today. Um, but I am a proponent of using the term expectations properly and understanding that there's always going to be expectations. It's very hard to live in a world where there aren't any because everything that we're taught, there's expectations. So in this scenario, or any scenario when you are dating someone, you're dating for a reason. Either you're dating because everybody wants something. Everybody wants something. And to say you don't want anything is a lie because maybe you don't want sex or you don't believe that you want sex, but you may want a companion. You may want a lifelong partner. You still want something. Or maybe you're just in it to get a good meal. You still want something. Or maybe you're simply in it to get the mandingo or into the panties. Whatever, you still want something. Nobody, I haven't figured out what scenario you'd be in where you are dealing with another person and you don't want anything from them. Even if you just like their company and the silence and the energy that they give you, you still want something. And you got to understand that wanting something from someone is not a bad thing. The problem is what we want and the fact that when we don't get it, how we respond to it. I posed a question on my Facebook that says, "Are we grown enough to tell a person that we have a crush on to tell a person that we have a crush on them, or not? Nah, I ain't gonna do that. And some of my questions back to those who have responded with, "Yeah, I did that. It didn't work," or "I ain't gonna do that because I don't know what the end result is going to be," is when you do go out on that limb, go out on a date, take somebody out, and they don't respond the way that you want. How do you treat them after? How do you respond to them after? How do you, like in this case, he was like, "I'm gonna do what you did to me." I mean, I be eye for an eye too. Let's say that in the Bible. It does. Um, you know, how do you respond if a person doesn't give you what you want? If you are interested in a male or a female and they don't respond to you in the same interest level that you have for them, how do you treat them? You ain't got to respond out loud, but it would be fantastic if people were honest. How do you treat them if they are not interested in you? You think you're a perfect catch. You're a perfect person. You got a couple qualities that need to be worked on, but you are a great catch. You got yourself together. You got your money together. You are caring and a giving person, both female and male. Y'all see most of the things I'm saying can be crossed over. Um, but the person that you interested ain't interested in you. How do you respond? You get mad at them? The person that was beautiful every day, or hey handsome every day, or the person that you love the their mind and how they talk and all that stuff. Um, you know, do you then dislike them? So did you ever like them in the first place? Or are you upset because they did not do what you want? They don't feel about you the same way you feel about them. So, a couple things to think about. All right, so I'm gonna fast forward here a little bit. Try to fast forward. All right, let's see.
I answer. Yes.
But the question, but here's the thing. I called one time.
So here's the thing, Mandisa, you text me, hey, great date, boom, 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 boom. Can we go here? I respond back to you. Would you have just left it there?
I would not have. I would have called you because I would have received your text and I would have been offended. And I would want to know that I was not misinterpreting what you were saying.
I don't see how that's offensive.
Well, and that's probably the difference in a man and a woman.
Yeah.
It's
Understanding what offends another person is very critical in our dating stages. Um, very, very critical. And I think that's where we run into a number of problems is we don't understand what's offensive. And not to say that you have to always respond to a person and know right off the bat, that means you're walking on eggshells and
I'm gonna tell you, hold on, no, because
you're not being yourself. And so I want to make sure that, we are considering um, those types of things. If we're wanting a person to be themselves and we're wanting the person to be, keep in mind what we're talking about and what level of a relationship we're in. We're at the beginning stages. In my opinion, you want that person to be 100% themselves. I hate representative. I'm a simple. I go as far as don't ask me what to wear. First of all, if you a grown man asking me what to wear somewhere, we got issues already. And some women like that. But if going on a first date and you're asking me what to wear so that, and this was exactly what a guy said, well, not verbatim, but what a guy said to me. Um, we were just simply going to Chili's. He said, "What are you wearing?" Clothes. I mean, I don't understand the question. I really didn't understand the question. What do you mean? Well, I just want to know how I should dress. I said, boo, do you dress exactly how you want to dress and how you normally dress? That way I see you in your true essence so that I can decide if I want to continue, because ain't nothing like getting with somebody and getting hooked on the persona of someone, and then having it thrown in your face when they decide, oh, we good now. Now I'm gonna be my normal self, and you're like, wait a minute, who is this character? Who are you? Well, I mean, I was wearing the clothes and beginning like we chilling now. I ain't got to do, or and maybe it's not clothes. Maybe it's just your ability to make decisions for yourself. You want someone who who is a certain way or a leader in a relationship, and maybe they aren't, or maybe whatever the case may be. Maybe they ask you for your opinion early on, and then when you get into this relationship they could care less what you think, because all they were trying to do was get at you. And once they got you, then they don't care, how and what you think, and your whole thought process. I want you to be exactly who you are. If you a pants sagger, gold tooth wearer, bougie, I can't do that, whatever it is, I want you to be that on the first date, because I wish things would be this simple, where a person's like, I'm not wavering from what I want in the direction I want to go in. And she was not wavering in that either until she realized that maybe she dropped the ball on that one. Give me who you are ASAP. And I want to know how many of my ladies and gents agree with that. How many of you want a person to truly be their authentic self and not just for conversational piece? Like we say this stuff all the time, but how many of us really want that person? And as I'm listening to these ladies, it's like you didn't want him to be who he is. That's who he is. It doesn't matter that we think that he should have done something else. It doesn't matter. If that's not who he is and he truly is always going to be a budgeter, you want that ASAP. So I don't think, I know we say the tone of how things are, but he showed you who he is. She showed him who he was, who she was right in the beginning. Isn't that what we ultimately want? I think if we stop trying to make people be this comfortable dating structure in the beginning, we rid ourselves from a lot more hardship. I think we date and marry the wrong people all the time because we want so badly for this person, like I said earlier, that we've been Google eyeing, we think are so fine. We have this idea of who they are underneath those things and who they would be for us. And we want them to behave in that way because that's what makes us feel good. And then at the same time, we want them to be themselves. And so once they become themselves, then we have an issue with it. But now we're invested. We're 5 years in. We might have a baby or a baby on the way, or we're planning a wedding. No, I want it after date number one. So let me know if you guys agree with that. Do you want to know right out the gate who a person truly is? And not just for conversational piece, because I know we love to just say it because it sounds good. But how many of us date the way that we speak? How many of us actually practice what we say when we date? All right, let me see where we are with this video. Might be another point I'm gonna give here. Okay. Oop.
But I do agree with her with the communication of either.
I agree. I tried. It didn't happen.
I agree. She initiated with what you said.
Thank you.
I definitely. However,
Anytime you say but around it, it really cancels out everything you said before.
when
So
you
just
said something about interpreting as feeling like you're not basically worth the particular date, men go through that all the time. Men go through that all the time and having to prove their worth to these women.
How so?
How so? In every way possible.
Like what? Give me an example.
From character to mannerisms to how he courts her to what is he doing.
Me too.
Exactly.
We do too. Like we go through the same exact thing. I don't understand how it's different.
So what is the problem here? How do you feel like if I say, well, that's not in my budget?
Yeah.
How does it feel like? Well, am I worth it? How do you get that information?
I can't break down to you how. I can just say that that's how it would make me feel if I received that. So that's why I would have called you up and I would have said, hey, help me to understand what you're talking about. I run into this on social media all the time. I get offended with the way people say things. And then I say, I want to make sure I'm not misinterpreting what you're saying. Can you break that down for me? And it usually is that I'm wrong and I'm receiving it wrong. So that's why I think communication has to be the forefront in how you say things.
A couple of months ago, someone gave me 2 free tickets to a Predators game. And so I texted the guy I was talking with and I said, hey, I just got 2 free tickets to the Preds game tomorrow night. Do you want to go? Because it's tickets, it's easy. And, and he said, oh, I've already got something tomorrow night, but I'm free on Wednesday. Right? So what he communicated to me was, I'm rejecting what you're offering, but I'm telling you I'd still like to see you.
Good.
Right? So what he said is, I can't do the thing you want to do, but I want to see you.
Yeah.
So there was.
But you did the same thing.
What?
Well, you didn't get. Well, you gave another. You said in a month I'll pay for that meal.
No, it wasn't a month. I said next month. Next month was a week and 3 days away.
I think. I'm on your team. I'm AO all day long.
You're not on my team.
I'm on your team. But I think another way you could have said it would have been to say, but instead, what if we did this? Yeah. But I do love that steak restaurant, but you should come over here and let me make you steak.
Okay, so I'm gonna jump in on this. Because this is something I hate that guys do all the time is say how women should talk to them. Say what a woman should do to make him feel good in terms of your early on dating. How she needs to respond so that he feels comfortable in the conversation. I'm not talking about when you're talking about somebody who's irate, yelling and all that. That's a whole other thing. If you in a relationship with somebody who yells at you and pushes you down and is disrespectful, that ain't got nothing to do with just basic communication. And when you're saying, well, this is the way you should have said it, and I get that we do begin to train each other and to certain etiquette, because I do it when I travel, because there are miscues all the time, especially when you are somewhere international and you're dealing with people who just don't function the way that you do. So you do train people. I don't know that I would. Um, I have to think about this to see how I feel about training someone when I first meet them with um, how to manage um, how to manage the conversation, how to speak. And I think all I'm saying is it's important to do that. And some people want to teach the other person how to talk to them and what they like and all of that. And we need to do that because that's learning a person. But a week into um, or 2 weeks into dating, should we do that or should we allow the person to be who they truly are and see if they are willing? Because what's coming out of this is what I feel like is he wasn't that invested, and neither was she. Um, they went on a date. It was cool. Like she said, the first date was cool, but I want to go here. We don't really know what she meant by that or what her intent was. But because they both were so easy, it was so easy for them both to walk away. They weren't invested in it. So I don't know that it's necessary to tell a person how to say something when they're not invested in something. When a person is invested and wants something, they figure out how to keep it and how to maintain it. And if they don't, then they still don't want it. If they're like, well, that's not that person, they're shy and all that. If we're talking about a dude, well, he don't really talk like that because he's really he shouldn't be dating. No, I'm just joking. You can find another shy chick that, or the female that you want to speak for you. Then put that in your bio that that's what you're looking for. You want somebody to do all the talking for you. Um, but in this case, I just got the feeling it didn't matter. He was like, okay, yeah, no, this ain't what I want. And she got the feeling, yeah, no, he don't make enough money until she found out that he was, world renowned. Um, you know, and so I think in trying to dictate how a person speaks at an early stage when we don't know a person is again getting us in hot water. Because again, what we are doing is creating a persona. We are creating a person. We're pseudo creating a situation that um, with a person that doesn't may not be accurate. And so I just want to think about that. Okay, so I'm not gonna play any more of this video because there's about another 20 minutes. You guys can go check it out. It's on Facebook. You can check out the Anthony Oneal page again. It's the 4 words you never say to a woman. And that the 4 words were if we're together next month. I think those were the 4 words. And that's what they focused on in this. And there were so many key points that they brought out. And the one I want to leave with is the woman feeling like she was not worthy of the next date. Is it that she didn't feel worthy because he didn't want to take her there? Or was it ego? Because if a guy comes and tells me right out the gate that he can't afford something, let me tell you something. Being in situations with people who blow money, don't know how to budget and or finance their situation is to me devastating. That is the hardest thing because when you want to plan something with somebody, you never can because they are so fly by night and never have their money together and don't even budget even a little bit. That can be destructive longer term because and then you see it all the time how you end up in these situations where a person's like, well, I don't know what his expenses are, and oh my god, we're devastated, he left me with nothing, or she took everything and I didn't know she was spending all this money. And so why do we walk around and act like it's okay for us not to know what's going on? Okay, just tell me what I need to spend or tell me what I need to this and that. And I think we all have to take some responsibility. And that's maybe the key word is responsibility. We owe it to ourselves to be responsible for ourselves and at least understand what it is that we're doing, what's going in and out. Don't be another MC Hammer. We've seen it too many times, right? So anyway, you guys, that is my chat for the day. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. If you guys get a chance, Please let me know what you guys would like to talk about, and go and subscribe to my YouTube channel, please. It's free 99 for you to subscribe, and that helps me continue in my travels and in my endeavors, and supporting and bringing you guys quality broadcasts and conversations and discussions. And then also let me know if you want to join me on one of my future podcasts, um, via the comments, and or you can send me an email. Check out my ticker here to see where to get my YouTube channel page. If you want to donate to my adventures and my podcast, my Cash App is also in the ticker. And I appreciate you guys for everything. And again, just supporting me by tuning in and listening. And I will chat with you guys soon. You guys know the drill. Toodles and noodles, peace and hair grease.